7 days before disconnecting from this world, I decided to play the obedient son my parents always wanted. I didn't throw fits over their favoritism towards their adopted son, Felix, nor did I get upset when my childhood friends seemed to prefer Felix over me. Initially, my parents just smirked at me, saying, "Finally acting like a big brother. Huh? We'd all have been happier if you'd done this sooner." As time went on, their confusion grew. "Jason, why aren't you angry?" they wondered. I just smiled and replied, "Isn't this what you wanted?" By the time I reconnected with the system, things with my family had reached a low point. The system's voice was calm, saying, "Disconnection program will activate in a week. Host will see you in 7 days." I nodded silently and lit the candles on the nearby cake. With the flickering candlelight, I clasped my hands and made my last wish in this world. Just as I was about to blow out the candles, the door opened. My mom, dad, sister, and Felix walked in, laughing together. When my sister caught my eye, she scoffed, "Dad, no wonder he didn't want to attend your birthday party. He's throwing one all by himself here." My dad's smile turned to disgust as he stormed over, grabbed the cake, and tossed it into the trash. "You're ruining your old man's birthday, and you have the nerve to eat cake alone at home?" My mom sighed heavily, looking at me. "Jason, you're getting more and more unreasonable." She muttered to herself as she walked away, "How did I end up with a son like you?" I watched her back as she left, wanting to say something, but my sister grabbed my collar, pulling me forward. "Jason, does it make you happy to ruin the mood for everyone?" she snapped. "Did you forget how much you hurt Dad last time?" I just looked at her and smiled silently. I used to cry and defend myself, telling them it wasn't my fault, or ask why they sided with Felix when I was their real family. But now, with only a week left to stay, those questions didn't matter anymore. I stood my ground, refusing to back down. Her breathing got more labored, and finally, she pushed me away hard. "Jason, you're the worst. You're nothing compared to Felix." My head hit the corner of the coffee table, pain radiating through my body. Felix immediately rushed over, concerned. "Are you okay?" He glanced at Christina. "Sis, you didn't need to be so hard on him." Christina chuckled. "Don't trust him, Felix. He's just acting to play on your empathy. He knows you're the kindest, that's why he does it." She pulled Felix away, warning him, "He's tricked you so many times. Be careful next time." Every word felt like a knife. Holding back tears of pain, I clutched my injury and walked to my room. "It's fine. I'm leaving soon. I don't care anymore." Today was Dad's birthday. Not too long ago, we had a massive fight about Felix, and I left. I planned to mend things today with a gift and cake, but I came home to a locked door. When I called, the background noise was a party. Dad scoffed. "Didn't you say I'm only Felix's dad from now on? Why were you calling?" I barely kept my voice steady. "I came to celebrate your birthday." Dad's voice turned cold. "I'm lucky if you don't ruin my birthday. You even wish I'd rest in peace sooner." Felix's voice in the background said, "Dad, come blow the candles." Dad replied gently, then gave me an address, but it felt more like a handout. I hesitated before responding, "I won't come." "Enjoy it." They planned this party without me, inviting relatives, colleagues, friends, and excluding me. So I didn't go. Before hanging up, Felix's voice chimed in, "Dad, was that brother's call? Did he finally apologize? Let him join us." The call ended. I sat outside for a long time, replaying my life in my head. Tears I couldn't control streamed down my face. In the end, I used points I'd saved over 18 years to request the system end my mission sooner. I still have a body, suffering from late-stage cancer, waiting for me on the other side. The door creaked open, and I knew it was Felix without looking. He always visited after family fights, pretending to comfort me but really rubbing it in. "Still hurt?" he asked with a smirk. "Can't believe sis hit that hard on her own brother." He added, "You know everyone hates you, so why come back?" Eyeing the gift bag on the table, he sneered, "Bought Dad such an expensive gift? You work jobs while in school for extra cash, right? I wouldn't know. Dad and Mom give me so much allowance that I never needed a part-time job." He laughed, a sound I'd heard too often. I had hit him and thrown water at him before, but it only got me scolded. Dad, Mom, and Christina would berate me further and love Felix even more. I questioned many times if they'd always see me as jealous, petty, selfish, and stupid, while Felix remained their angel. Even when he bullied me at school or taunted me when no one was around, my pleas to my family fell on deaf ears, met with more bias and disgust. The latest fight was because Felix stole my painting, entered a contest, and won first prize nationally. When I confronted him, he acted like he was the victim. If my brother would be happy winning the award, I'm willing to give it to him. I was boiling with anger and called him a thief, but Dad slapped me instead. Shut up, you useless, jealous brat. How did I end up with a son like you? I held my face in disbelief. They never loved me, but they never hit me before. Dad, just pretend I'm not your son anymore. I ran out and never came back. Until now. I thought things could turn around, that they were just fooled by Felix's great acting. But now I realize I was so naive. Seeing me quiet, Felix just grinned even more cockily. What, getting hit taught you a lesson? Not gonna curse me back? I checked my wound in the mirror, ignoring him. If you want it so much, it's all yours. I guess my calm reaction wasn't what Felix expected. His grin vanished, turning into a vicious glare. Jason, don't think you're gifting these to me. I earned them myself. You're just an annoying pest. I paused and looked at him icily. Are you done? Then get out of my room. Dad came over with some alcohol pads to clean my wound. I reached out to take them, but he pulled my head in to clean it himself. My cold heart felt a bit of warmth, eyes stinging. In my original world, I was an orphan. Transmigrating into this one, I felt what a loving family could be. Mom and Dad loved me, and my sister adored me. At 20, I was told the mission was to have my family love me. It seemed like a gimme. Finish the mission, and I could be healthy again in my original world. But I had already decided I wasn't going back. Until Felix came into the picture when Mom's friend and her husband passed away, and my parents took him in. Everything started going wrong. Jason. Dad's voice pulled me back to reality. I looked at him as he ruffled my hair, feeling wronged. Huh? I'll go give your sister a talking to. I spoke slowly. Dad, do you really not want me as your son? Dad seemed taken aback, his tone turning a bit stern. Why would you say that? I put my life on the line for you, remember? I nodded silently. He held my hand and patted it gently. Jason, there's something Dad wants to discuss with you. Since you've moved out now and you'll live in college dorms after exams, why not clear out your room for your brother to use as an art studio? I held my breath. The momentary warmth from the wound cleaning felt like a joke. What about when I come back? I asked quietly. Dad frowned slightly, as if tired of my questions. You can stay in the study for a day or two. It's not like you're anything more than a guest here. I'd heard worse, but it still stung. I heard my voice without realizing I was speaking. Sure, Dad. I smiled at him. Does my brother want anything else? I can give it to him as long as you and Felix are happy. Dad stopped mid-sentence, surprised. Jason, you're okay with this? Whenever Felix wanted my things, I'd always put up a fight. But now I don't care anymore. The outcome won't change. I'm leaving soon anyway. Seeing me nod sincerely, Dad's confusion turned into an approving smile. His eyes went to the shopping bag on the table, a gift I got him for his birthday. A brand-name wallet bought with money I made from part-time jobs and competitions. Understanding his look, I handed the bag over. Dad, here. His smile grew, his voice full of delight. Jason, you've really grown up. Your mom's punishment worked. Getting kicked out made you reflect and mature. Your sister's lecture was helpful too. I inwardly laughed. Kicked out while still in high school. No word from my parents. Beaten badly by my sister with no one caring. And here he is, feeling proud about it. I suddenly felt it all was pointless. Softly, I told Dad, I'm tired. I'll rest now. Dad stood up with a smile. All right, rest up. I turned off the light, lying in bed, breathing evenly. It's almost over, Jason. Don't be sad. The next day, I woke up to laughter in the living room. Rubbing my eyes, I went out. Everyone stopped talking as soon as I appeared. Daisy awkwardly greeted me. "Jason, you're up." I nodded and went to the kitchen for water. Daisy, who grew up with me, once firmly stood by me. But now she follows Felix around. When he turned everyone at school against me, she just walked away when I asked for help. Why doesn't anyone like you, Jason? You should reflect on yourself. After drinking, I kept my distance and headed back to my room. Felix, however, jumped in front of me excitedly. "Jason, Daisy brought amazing news." He glowed like the summer sun. The edge of a wallet peeked out of his pocket, glinting under the light. I touched it, unable to resist. His eyes sparkled even more. "Pretty, isn't it?" It was Dad's, but he gave it to me since I liked it. So, Dad took it from me to give it to Felix. Dad looked a bit flustered. "Jason, don't overthink it." But I just smiled tightly. "We're family. It doesn't matter who uses it." That awkward smile froze on Dad's face. After a while, he slowly replied, "Yeah, Jason really knows how to be understanding." Felix, with his innocent and naive demeanor, pulled me toward the couch. "Jason, you still don't know Daisy's good news yet." He gave Daisy a gentle look. "Daisy, why don't you tell Jason?" Daisy's eyes darted around. "Isn't the college entrance exam just a few days away? My mom said she'd sign me up for a trip abroad after the exam." I was thinking of taking Felix along and came to ask Uncle and Auntie for the documents to apply for visas. After she said it, she clenched the hem of her shirt, not daring to look up at me. Dad smiled and joined the conversation. "I'll go grab the documents for you." As he passed by me, he took my hand. "Jason, why don't you go with Dad?" I knew he was worried I might cause a scene again. A few months ago, on my birthday, Daisy promised to spend it with me. Since Felix arrived, no one remembered to celebrate my birthdays anymore. Every year, Daisy was the only one who lit candles and ate cake with me. But this time, even when the cake melted, she never showed up. The gift meant for me ended up on Felix's wrist. That day, I distinctly felt that the last important person in my life was slowly slipping away. Fear, panic, and anger overwhelmed me. I rushed to the hospital, where my whole family and Daisy were fussing over a pretend sick Felix. Nobody remembered it was my birthday. I ran up and slapped Felix. In the next moment, Christina and Daisy both shoved me to the ground. "Get out." Christina's eyes widened, pointing at the door. "How many times have you bullied Felix?" Daisy looked disappointed too. "Jason, I never imagined you'd be this type of guy." So, I guess they feared that hearing Daisy inviting Felix to travel abroad would trigger another meltdown. Dad wanted to rush me away, but it wasn't necessary anymore. I gently pulled my hand from his. Dad was taken aback. Felix's clear voice chimed in. "Jason, if I go with Daisy alone, would you be upset? If you don't want me to, I'll let this opportunity go." "No need," I calmly interrupted. "Enjoy your time." I continued walking toward my room with my water cup. Suddenly, Daisy stood up and approached me. "Jason, when the time comes, I'll bring you back a souvenir." There was a mix of panic and a sense of trying to please in her eyes. Funny, huh? When I made a fuss about her getting close to Felix, she called me petty and selfish, even refusing to walk home with me after school. Now that I'm not intervening, she wants to bridge the gap with me. I smiled and shook my head. "Thanks, but I don't need any gifts. Have fun." Maybe I was too calm. As I closed the door, I could still hear their whispered discussions behind me. "Isn't Jason acting a bit differently?" "Yeah, before, if you didn't take him out to play, he'd make a huge fuss." Christina sneered. "Where does he get the nerve to be angry?" "Dad's hand wouldn't be like that if it weren't for him." I silently closed the door. Huge drops of blood hit the hospital floor. In Felix's third year at our house, Dad got a message from kidnappers. "I've got your son, Jason. If you want him back, bring 50,000 alone to this place." Dad went only to find just the kidnapper, no sign of me. During the struggle, the kidnapper slashed Dad's wrist with a knife. The wound was deep, damaging the nerve, and Dad was a renowned surgeon. The kidnapper laughed sinisterly. "What a fool. Your son said just bring you here, and after injuring your hand, the money's all mine. Don't blame me if you must blame someone." Unknowing, I was at a classmate's party at the time. My mom burst in angrily, kicking me hard. I fell to the ground, looking at her in pain. Mom, what's wrong? Her eyebrows almost shot up. You have the nerve to ask. If Felix hadn't found the phone you threw out of guilt, we'd never have known just how vicious you are, getting an outsider to destroy your own dad. I was so worried about Dad that I couldn't ask more, rushing straight to the hospital. Blood was still smeared on the hospital floor. Dad lay in bed, heartbroken. Jason, even if you were jealous of us for adopting Felix, you shouldn't have tricked Dad into going to his death. Jason, I really regret having you as my son. Afterward, I explained in tears or with calmness many times. I didn't know how that conversation with the kidnapper ended up on my phone. How could I team up with a stranger to harm my dad? But it was all taken as me being stubborn and deceptive. Is it possible Felix forged those chat logs for you? Felix acted shocked, tears streaming down. Before, when you wrongly accused me of things, I took the blame just to make you happy since I'm just adopted. But this involves Dad's prized career. I won't cover for you this time. He sounded righteous, further cementing the blame on me. From then on, my family viewed me as heartless. But late at night, Felix came into my room, grinning. Jason, you're ruthless, destroying what Dad loves most. How can he ever treat you like a son again? You framed me. So what? Does anyone believe you? He left, covering his mouth with moonlight in the background. I crumpled on the floor, just as he said. From now on, don't even think you have a dad. Dad indeed repeated this countless times. At last, it was almost true. Counting down silently, I faced the ceiling. 5 days left. Evening came, Daisy stayed for dinner. The table was a feast. Dad served food to Daisy and Felix. Eat up, both of you love the crabs. They're at their best this season. Felix acted spoiled. Daisy, it's too much trouble, could you help me with them? With a fond smile, Daisy agreed. Dad joked, you're all grown up and still need Daisy to take care of you. What's gonna happen when you find a girlfriend? Mom laughed too. It's obvious, right? Look at how clingy they are now. Marriage is just a matter of time. My sister teased. Felix blushed. You two grew up together. Isn't this meant to be? Everyone was happily chatting, but the noise was annoying. I pretended not to hear anything, just eating my food with a blank face. But Christina wouldn't even let me have this quiet moment. She tapped her utensils and called my name. Jason, what do you think? I looked up, confused. She smiled, but her eyes were cold. Don't you think Felix and Daisy are childhood sweethearts, made for each other? I hesitated for a second. She chuckled. You're not still daydreaming about childhood promises? Thinking you can marry Daisy someday? Are you? I paused eating and kept my expression calm. No, they're a perfect match. I wish them a long, happy future in advance. The table fell into an awkward silence. Christina angrily took another bite. Such a buzzkill every time. Felix chuckled. Jason's jealous again. Daisy, you better comfort him. Daisy looked at me with mixed emotions, but did nothing. Dad put a crab on my plate. You've been talking too much, Jason. Eat up, these crabs are delicious. I nodded but didn't move a muscle. After a few more bites, I wanted to leave the table. Mom and Dad, with finals around the corner, I'm gonna go study. Take your time eating. Mom stopped me. Hold on. I turned back. Her eyes were icy. Your dad just gave you crab, and you're leaving now? You don't want to make your dad sad, do you? Felix watched me with a smirk, waiting for how I'd react. Daisy seemed anxious but didn't say anything. I interrupted before she could speak. I don't want to owe her anything, or add to the misunderstandings. Dad, Mom. I gave them a small smile. I'm allergic to seafood. If I eat it, I sometimes can't breathe. Did you forget? The room fell silent again. Daisy let out a barely noticeable breath. Before Felix was adopted, I almost fainted from eating crab. Dad was really sorry back then we didn't have seafood at home after that. But once Felix came along, he liked seafood. Slowly, all kinds of seafood made a comeback at the table. No one mentioned my allergies since. Dad stammered. Is that so? But don't we buy a lot of shrimp and crab this time every year? You never said anything. Dad, Didn't you see I never eat them? Dad wavered slightly. Christina jumped up angrily. I bet if Felix likes something, you'll be allergic to it. When people are speechless, they sometimes just laugh a little. Christina looked uneasy when I laughed. What's that supposed to mean? I calmly replied. If that's what you think, nothing I say will change your mind. With that, I turned and left. I looked around the room, this place I'd lived for 18 years. At the table earlier, Mom mentioned turning my room into a studio. She said after finals I should move out into the study. Those last few days before the exam felt like a mercy. But I didn't want it anymore. The next day, I skipped school, pretending to be sick. With Mom and Dad at work, I started packing my stuff alone. Once I started high school, they cut off most of my allowance to make me behave. I applied for financial aid and picked up part-time jobs during breaks to cover my expenses. I didn't have many clothes or shoes. Felix, though, had tons of cool branded clothes, the latest styles every season. He was popular at school while I was just a shadow. Teachers would ask why there was such a difference in our grades since we were brothers. Other students would eagerly explain. Teacher, Felix is so handsome he's going to be a star. Grades aren't as important. The teacher would shake her head in resignation. She used to try and get Felix to focus on his studies, but he would dismiss her. Teacher, I'm not like you, slaving away for nothing. I'll be a celebrity, making more in a day than you do in a lifetime. So butt out. Nobody wants to waste effort on someone who doesn't appreciate it. She stopped trying and he enjoyed the freedom. But I wonder, how long can Felix keep living in this fantasy world built on lies? I packed all my clothes and shoes into a suitcase and tossed them in the downstairs garbage can. Anything my parents gave me before Felix arrived, I gave to the kids playing in the square. Other things I couldn't take, I took by taxi to the outskirts. I set them on fire. The smoke made me cough, bringing tears to my eyes. At first, I just wanted to fulfill my tasks and return to the original world healthy. I was sunny and cheerful, calling them Mom and Dad sweetly. Feeling their unconditional love made me so happy, something I'd never known in 2 lifetimes. I learned to love them back, wholeheartedly. But once Felix came, I was ignored, blamed, and criticized repeatedly. I realized, never having something can be a blessing. At least you don't feel the pain of losing it. Having it and then losing it is torture. I watched the fire grow, then slowly die down to ashes, feeling all my resentment wash away. I don't want love I can never have. That night, I moved into the study. For a few days, no one noticed. After all, it had been ages since Mom or Dad came to talk to me in the evenings. I stayed up all night saying goodbye to this world. Tomorrow is the second day of college entrance exams. It's also the day I'm planning to leave this world. In the morning, the whole family surprisingly stayed home. Dad handed me some soy milk with a smile and some advice. Jason, eat up so you can give it your all on the battlefield. Mom even gave me an unusual smile, telling me not to stress. Felix was sipping his soy milk and looked at me thoughtfully. I figured he was just jealous that Mom and Dad were being nice to me for once. But right before the car started, a sharp pain hit my stomach, and I realized what Felix's look meant. He drugged the soy milk. Of course, why would he let me score well on this test? Otherwise, wouldn't I get all the attention? Who would notice him then? Seeing me clutching my stomach in pain, Christina looked annoyed. Why are you always stirring things up? Felix pretended to be concerned. Are you that nervous about not doing well on the test? Man, toughen up. Christina laughed out loud. Bet you're scared of screwing up and embarrassing yourself. Huh? Always saying you're number 1 in the class. Sure, you must be cheating. I didn't bother to argue back. But Dad suddenly cut her off sharply. Christina, shut it. How can you talk to your brother like that? Christina was shocked, staring at Dad. Dad, are you possessed? Don't you know how he just plays the victim and acts dumb? Dad's expression got complicated. I had no time for their family's little drama. I opened the car door and ran back inside. I need to use the restroom, you guys go ahead. I'll catch up later. A few minutes later, I heard the door open again. Christina's voice came through. Mom and Dad went to drop Felix off at the test site. I'm supposed to take you. She let out a smug laugh. I'm not gonna take a liar like you. Figure it out yourself. I felt awful, but oddly calm. Not even a twinge of sadness. Through the door, I called out to her. When did you start hating me so much? When we were kids, you doted on me. There was silence for a long time outside. I sighed. Was it after Felix came? He's really good. I'm not. He's the brother you deserve, right? Still silence. A few minutes later, I heard the front door close. Christina had left. The system's voice came to life again. Host, do you still want to go to the exam? I can teleport you there. But you're leaving anyway. Does it really matter? I hesitated briefly, then nodded. Yeah, I want to go. Losing a high-scoring son to brag about. I wonder if they'll regret it? When the final bell rang, I put down my pen and looked out the window. It was nearing evening, but the summer sunset was still blazing. Birds flitted by, chirping as they perched on the banyan tree. I followed the crowd out of the school and started walking into the unknown. I chatted idly with the system about these past 18 years. The system sighed. Host, it's been tough for you. I seized the moment to whine. Can you make my original body healthy again? Since I had it tough? The system went silent. I chuckled and let it off the hook. I got to live 18 extra years. That's plenty. I laughed and looked up, but my smile vanished. A car was out of control, speeding towards the crosswalk. A little boy, just a few years old, was crossing with his dad. They hadn't noticed the car speeding towards them. Watch out, I shouted, running towards them. As I shoved the boy and his dad out of the way, the car slammed into me. My body flew into the air. I saw the terrified boy safely cradled in his dad's arms. I closed my eyes with contentment. Seems like this way of going is a bit more meaningful. The next moment I heard familiar voices. Honey, did you hit someone? Someone got out of the car, trembling as they touched me. Then a gasp. It's Jason. I struggled to open my eyes, a smile tugging at my lips. The car that hit me was my family's. Jason, don't close your eyes. Hang in there. Dad's taking you to the hospital. Hearing Mom panic, Dad yelled. Hurry up. I felt someone lifting me. The warmth of the embrace was long missed. Mom's voice trembled. Jason, Jason, Mom's taking you to the hospital right now. I heard Felix's voice too, but it was fading. I slowly closed my eyes, ready to leave. I gently gripped Dad's hand in response. What do you want to say, Jason? Dad, don't cry. I took a deep breath. Just pretend you never had a son. With that, I lost consciousness completely. The next thing I heard, I was just a soul, floating with the system outside the operating room. The doors opened from the inside. Mom and Dad rushed to the doctor, desperate for news. I'm sorry, the patient had severe internal bleeding, and the pre-existing condition didn't help. We did all we could. Hearing the final verdict on my life, Dad's legs gave out, tears welling in his eyes. He clung to the doctor's coat, mumbling, how could this happen? How could he die? Mom too wobbled and slid down the wall. Only Felix, with a subtle smile, pretended to mourn and comfort them. Dad, don't be sad. You still have me. But the next second, Dad pushed him away hard. Felix hit the ground, confused, looking at Dad. Dad, trembling all over, pointed at Felix with bloodshot eyes. You're not my son. It must be you. You took my son's life, and that's why he's dead. Christina arrived just then, shielding Felix. You're scaring Felix, Dad. But Dad took a step closer. He yanked Christina by the shirt, demanding, didn't I tell you to pick up your brother? Why was he alone when it happened? Christina was stunned. The next moment, Dad slapped her hard. Are you having trouble telling who your real brother is? I looked at the chaotic scene in front of me and felt completely unfazed. The system shook its head. That late realization is pretty gross. But then, I had a sudden stroke of insight and turned to look at it. Why did I suddenly find myself in front of my parents' car saving someone? That wasn't even the road they take home. The system sighed and said softly, you've had it rough these past 18 years. So I couldn't help but intervene a little. I laughed out loud. This cold system was kind of cute, actually. I thought my story here was about to end. I asked the system when we could leave. It was too noisy, and I didn't want to watch anymore. But the system said to wait a bit longer, that one more person still hadn't arrived. I got curious and looked toward the end of the hallway. Just then, I saw Daisy running wildly toward us, with police and teachers following behind her. I thought the police were here to deal with the car accident with my mom and me, but instead, they cuffed Felix's wrist. Everyone was shocked. My mom spoke up. "What's going on? What's wrong with my son?" Christina started shouting like a frenzied hen. "Let go of my brother." The police hushed them with a stern command and then looked around the room with a cold gaze. Based on the audio evidence provided by Daisy, we suspect Felix of being involved in a kidnapping and murder plot. Everyone was stunned. Felix's teary red eyes widened as he looked at Daisy in disbelief. Daisy stepped forward, held up her phone, and played the recording. "Felix, was the whole thing with Uncle's injured wrist arranged by you?" Felix's voice was slurred, clearly inebriated. "Yeah, I hired those kidnappers and faked those chat logs between Jason and them." He giggled. His dumb parents and sister believed it, took him as a scapegoat, and treated me like a treasure instead. Felix's laughter echoed down the hallway. I took a deep breath. My parents and Christina were already livid as they listened to the recording. Felix tried to grab the phone to interrupt the recording but was held back by the police. "Don't move," they ordered. Felix glared at Daisy, his eyes filled with anger. "So, all your care and concern these past days were just an act to get close and trick me into confessing? To right the wrongs against Jason?" Everyone looked at Daisy. Under their gaze, she slowly nodded and smirked coldly at Felix. "I grew up with Jason. I know what kind of person he is better than you ever could." Felix suddenly forced a sad smile. "Too bad your Jason's already dead." Daisy froze. Her expression shattered, and she slowly turned towards my parents. Under their deathly gazes, she crumpled to the ground. The system and I looked at each other in shock, speechless. The system clicked its tongue twice. "Host, you really misjudged this lovesick fool." Before I could react, things suddenly took a turn. Dad, holding keys, suddenly rushed at Felix. Before anyone could react, the key was forcefully shoved into Felix's eye. "Scumbag, give me back my son." On the day of my funeral, a lot of people showed up. Felix ended up in prison, and Dad was arrested and awaiting trial. The father and son I saved came to pay respects, praying for a better reincarnation for me. Old classmates who'd bullied me, forced by Daisy with evidence, came to my grave to apologize. After everyone left, Daisy broke down in tears. She rambled about neglecting me the past few days and her guilt and regret. She lamented that, by exposing Felix too late, she'd caused my death. She cried for so long that I went from crying with her, silently comforting her, to getting a headache from listening. Finally, I was at my wit's end. "System, help me out." The system smirked and snapped its fingers. Daisy wobbled and fainted. I was thrilled. "Wow, that's impressive." The system stood there, mouth agape. "I haven't done anything yet." She fainted on her own after crying too much. On the day college entrance exam results came out, my mom and Christina went to the prison with my scores. In just a few days, she seemed to have aged 10 years, with her hair turning white. Jason was the top scorer in the exam. We should be happy for him. Across the glass, Dad touched the screen showing my scores, tears streaming down his face. My brilliant, good-hearted son. How did he end up like this? Tears washed over him. As my success on the exam got out, people began digging into my past. A flood of calls from old friends and relatives came in, congratulating Mom for having such an outstanding son. They didn't know I was already gone. Even reporters were calling for interviews. Someone had photographed me sleeping on a park bench before the exams, sparking curiosity. It made Mom pause. Maybe she recalled how, having been kicked out, I had nowhere to go and was sleeping in the park. Luckily, nothing bad happened to me. The reporter kept pressing. "With such an excellent son, you and your husband must have doted on him greatly." Returning home, Mom and Christina saw kids playing at the apartment complex. Suddenly, seeing a little girl holding a music box, Christina froze. She rushed up, snatching the music box, and demanded to know where it came from. Terrified, the little girl cried out, and her mother pushed Christina back defensively. It was given to us by some guy a few days ago. What's wrong with you? Christina's eyes filled with tears instantly, her voice trembling. I'll buy it. Name your price. She bowed her head deeply, clutching her heart like it was in unbearable pain. This was my brother's. It was my birthday gift to him. As the wind rustled the leaves, I turned with the system to leave. The awakening and regret my death brought them weren't anything to be moved by. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in a hospital bed in my original world. The system spoke calmly. Host, due to your saving 2 lives before returning, the Strategy Management Bureau decided to restore your health in your original world. Paused. Kindness is always rewarded. Host, may you have a happy life. Took me a while to finally accept this reality. And for the rest of my life, I'd be happy.